right, live from the Kings County Distillery Studios in New York City, it's the Hospitality Hangout Podcast with the restaurant guy and the finance guy. We've got our whiskey on the rocks ready. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and I encourage you to share a pour with us at home. Jimmy, let's take it home because we got a great show today.
Absolutely, and I will say it's a little early on our side, so I'm going to mix my Kings County with my favorite non-alc beverage. I won't say the name, but I'm signaling.
I'm doing my unsweetened Pure Leaf, Jimbo. I'm loving it. You know, iced tea.
Who owns Pure Leaf?
This is a Pepsi product, Jimmy. I love it. You know I love iced tea. You know.
Complete coincidence. How did it happen? All right, listen, I want to welcome you more formally to the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders at Branded Hospitality Ventures share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the finance guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the restaurant guy.
And thanks for that kind introduction, Jimmy. To all those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. And together, we're the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, capital, and QSR. And Jimmy, we've got a great show, We've got a really great show. I got to tell you, Jimmy, I am super excited because you know what? We are going to be traveling a lot, and I am super excited about the next trade show we're going to. It's FS Tech, one of our favorites in the Big D. Jimmy, nobody likes the Big D more than you. You love Dallas.
I love Dallas, Mr. Mark Cuban. I can't wait to see you again. And by again, I mean hopefully for the first time. Call me. But no, we do love Dallas. This is our third year, Shatsy, in a row of leading
Innovation Alley.
FS Tech's Innovation Alley. Three's a charm. Third year.
And I dropped my pen. And I got to tell you something. We are super excited because Innovation Alley, we brought in 20 of the coolest, most innovative companies making things happen in the food service and hospitality space. And of course, I have to mention that we are FS Tech Innovation Alley. Not is it just the branded sponsorship, but our partners at Cargill, Middleby, and Jimmy. And who's our last sponsor there? Nestle.
A very small company
called Nestle.
Heard of named Nestle.
So we've got the largest equipment manufacturer, the largest food company, and the largest. Cargill is like just the largest privately held company in America. I think they do $170 billion. Jimmy, that's with a B.
They touch over 70% of everything that we eat in this country, and I'm told that number is conservative. But I love the mixing of 20 emerging tech and innovation companies for the industry with 3 of the largest juggernauts corporates that are committed to this industry. It's a great barbell, and I love that Brandon gets to sit in the middle of it. So super fun. FS Tech, September. I forget the date.
I feel like it's like the 15th-ish. I got my flights booked at my hotel, Jimmy, so I know I'll be there. Right. But listen, just mark your calendars. If you're not going to be anywhere from like the 8th to the 15th, go to Dallas, and I think if you just check into the Anatole, you'll get the show. You'll get it.
Super excited. And by the way, the first time I think officially we're at a conference with our friends from Winsight and our friends now from Informa, now that they've come together and have created Informa acquired Winsight. So this is the first FS Tech under, let's say, the new coming together of Informa Winsight. Super excited. All right, listen, we got a How many times
did you say excited just now?
I think I'm pretty excited to think that I might have said it like 4 or 5 times.
Well, let's get really excited about our guest because he's a really exciting guest.
All right, I'll stop saying excited. But we are truly fortunate and blessed. Joining us today is our friend, Mr. Kep Sweeney, CEO of PDQ Restaurants. This is going to be a good one. And by the way, I think most people know, but for those who don't, that PDQ is people dedicated to quality. And we're going to let Kep introduce himself and get us started. But before we do, since our podcasts come out on Tuesdays, and I promise, Kep, this is the last thing we'll do before we engage you in the episode, we have to do our Trivia Tuesdays. For our long-term listeners, you know what this is about. Shatsy's an awesome player at this game. It's 2 truths and a not truth, also known as a lie. Shatsy's having fun with the background music. So for those of you who don't know how this game works, I'm going to list 3 facts about our friend Kep. 2 are true, 1 is false. Here we go. Jesse, why don't you kill the music while I do the 3 facts?
Jimmy, nobody wants to hear you talk. Everybody likes the music. They love the
I
match.
got to get the 3 facts. All right. Fact 1. Kep wrote a screenplay with Julian Shepard called The Chef, The Banker, and The Mob.
I could see that.
Fact 2.
Kep looks like a good writer.
Fact 2. Kep's first company was a catering company at the age of 17 that he ran with a business partner who he still partners with today in other business ventures.
Kep smiled when you said that, so that could be true.
Fact 3. Kep was offered an apprentice academy contract at the age of 17 with a Premier League team in England. So let's be really quick now.
He's been busy at 17 years old. Kep's been doing more things than most people did in a lifetime.
Yes. Fact 1. Kep wrote a screenplay with Julian Shepard called The Chef, The Banker, and The Mob.
By the way, he was 17 when he wrote that screenplay.
It does not say that.
It was a good year.
It was a good year. It was a very good year.
As Sinatra said.
Company was a catering company at age 17. Still partners with that business partner back then till to this day. And fact 3, Kep was offered an apprentice academy contract with the Premier League in England at age 17. All right, Shatsy, you're very good at this game. We were watching Kep. I didn't see a lot of tells. He was genuinely happy as those facts were being relayed. So remember, stick around to the end of the episode to find out which of these were true and which one was less than true, also known as a lie. Kep, after that little banter, we're going to let you now come on in. We won't leave you out again. Please give us a little background about yourself, of course, about PDQ, and thank you, my friend, for joining us on the Hospitality Hangout.
Thank you for having me, guys. This is a lot of fun. I'm on with the 2 most likable guys in the restaurant meets technology business.
Thanks for that.
I get it.
We're working hard.
Yeah.
Working hard and having some fun. So, Kep, give us a little background about yourself, and of course, you got to introduce our listeners. We know PDQ. We've got a big love for PDQ, but please introduce PDQ to our listeners because this is a company. You're a brand we want our listeners to know.
Yeah, I think it's a brand that people should know, and people are going to know more and more. We have a tremendous presence in Florida. We have we're up in New York. We're in Long Island. We have a few restaurants that do very well in Long Island. It's an interesting concept in that we're doing things that are non-QSR, but we're still doing them in 45 seconds out that second window. So a lot of work goes into it, into this product, and we have a food ethos. We have a culinary ethos in this company, and it's, it was devised by our 2 founders, Bob Basham and Nick Reeder. Bob Basham's he's the co-founder of Outback Steakhouse, and my claim to fame is Bob and I share a wall. So when I want to brag,
that's a good looking wall right there. I gotta be honest with you.
Yeah.
By the way,
Shatsy
and I share a wall.
We share a wall.
Today,
but I gotta say, Kep's is better looking, and it's just painted. I don't think ours is painted.
It is a better looking wall. Yeah.
Well, listen. I mean, that was a short introduction. Jimmy's introductions I'm used to are like 45 to an hour. So your introduction was really, really short, which I like because it gives us more time to really take a deep dive into it. But I was originally going to ask you about your journey analyzing numbers on Wall Street, which Jimmy can appreciate because he's an ex Wall Street kind of guy, and from Wall Street, you're doing Wall Street, then you're running restaurants on Main Street now. But the question is breaking news here, right? The question is turning to breaking news because just last week, it was announced that you have been promoted, and I think I even sent a little congratulations to you. You have been promoted to the CEO position. You were not CEO. I forgot your title before, but it was something less than cool. CEO is cooler. You were like president.
He was chief of getting done. He was chief of getting it done.
So president, so is it now you're the CEO, so you don't really have a lot to do now? Is that what goes on? Or you're not as busy?
No, I'm actually busier, but I joined PDQ. Nick Reeder and I were introduced by a friend, and we hit it off. And Nick asked if I'd be the president of the company. We worked together for years. This is working at PDQ with Nick and Bob is one of my true joys, and probably the best work experience I've had in my life.
But let me ask you, going back to the Wall Street, I mean, just give me a little bit about the Wall Street days and how did you get into the PDQ? That's what I think our fans really want to know. How did Kep start?
By the way, Shatsy, I love that you just asked Kep before. I like the way you phrased it better this time. Earlier, you said you were doing Wall Street. I found that to be a wonderful way of describing
that dirty?
Wall Street. No, it wasn't dirty, but like you're doing Wall Street. You do Wall Street.
Yeah, you're doing that Wall Street thing. You're like a finance guy. Yeah, you're buying low, you're selling high. Yeah. So tell us, what was your Wall Street experience like?
Okay, I'm going to start just a little before that.
1980. Bring it to 1980.
I started off in restaurants, right?
Okay.
And I worked for Jeremiah Tower, Bob Kincaid. I got an award from Julia Child. I ended up going to MBA school, and then I was hired by Solomon Brothers, and I got to be a restaurant analyst at Solomon Brothers. So during that process, I knew independent restaurants, and I started learning more about multi-unit restaurants. And I wrote the book, The New Restaurant Entrepreneur, that what would happen if you combine those two worlds, that there's no reason that you can't have greater efficiency in independent restaurants, and there's no reason you can't have greater creativity in multi-unit restaurants. And I went from there. I've done a lot of restaurant consulting, a lot of workouts, turnarounds, those types of things, process improvement for restaurant companies, and then I ended up at PDQ.
I love it.
As part of that.
I mean, Solomon Brothers, that's old school, man. Those are like the big guys, right? Jimmy, tell me, right?
I love that there is a generation of people that
they'll never know that one.
They don't know a number of the original firms. They don't know the first Boston.
Because then I remember Solomon Smith Barney.
Well, that was before it was Solomon Inc. Solomon Inc. and no period after the Inc. And the reason why there was no period after the Inc. was because Solomon, respectfully, and they were an elite firm, felt that they are the Inc. You don't need a period after the. Everyone else is kind of an imitation, but a myriad of firms that no longer exist in this new environment. But I digress. Going down my Wall Street days. Listen, I was recently having a discussion with my colleagues about the big brands. And it shouldn't be lost on anybody that McDonald's, before they were on every street corner in America, the brothers Maurice and Richard McDonald started their first McDonald's restaurant in 1948 by converting their drive-through barbecue restaurant into a burger and milkshake joint, burgers and shakes. Okay. At PDQ, you guys are now up to, I believe, 62 locations and counting and growing. But PDQ also started as a single location. I guess anything has to start with one.
Yeah, it's got to start with one, Jimmy. You can't
Right. But it was actually called a restaurant called Tenders. And then, as you mentioned, your partners, you have this founding story of how Nick Reeder and Bob Basham, you introduced both of them, started PDQ, which I believe started with Nick looking for healthier food options for his kids. I mean, that's the genesis that we know. Can you expound upon that? Because again, I love, if this was the pivot back then, I love how loyal you guys or committed you guys have been, again, as your name suggests, to the quality, dedicated to quality and healthier options in food.
Nick and Bob were partners, or are partners, and they were looking for restaurant opportunities. And Nick saw that there was an opportunity in QSR. He's got 3 kids that are athletes, and he's driving his kids, multiple kids around to games, and he was finding that it was less than a desirable experience going in and out of these QSR restaurants. So they found Tenders. Then they turned Tenders, that core product at Tenders in North Carolina, which we still own, to PDQ, and that created the PDQ brand. But it was based on that culinary DNA and ethos where you're double buttermilking, double breading, hand breading Tenders, and that's what we do.
I love it. Is the original Tenders still Tenders, or did you change the name? Did you bring?
No, it's still Tenders.
So you got a single unit Tenders hanging out.
Yeah, it's our only one without a drive-through.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen,
The OG.
yeah, no, it's OG. Keep it on topic about locations. What's the future expansion for you guys? You got 60 some odd stores, and I know that you're having some success. Stadiums, I think, is a great opportunity. I remember younger when we used to go to stadiums, and I always was wondering why there wouldn't be a McDonald's in the stadium, because I'd much rather have McDonald's than some of the food that they were serving. So you guys are going into stadiums. What are your thoughts and strategy around? So I want to know more about your locations, and then what are your thoughts and strategy around the corporate model versus franchise versus partnerships? And talk a little bit about that, where you guys are going and how you're going to grow.
It's the corporate model, and franchising is an animal of its own. It's managing franchisees. It's a great business, but it's not something that we're in, and it's not something that we're today good at. What we are good at is developing operators. And what we try to do, look at the two of you. You guys are the restaurant guy and the finance guy. So it's like what we try to do is we try to combine operators with quantitatives. What we want to do a perfect day at PDQ is when we have the kind of operator that can walk out showing the greatest looking zucchini that they've ever seen. We want that type of passion, people with pride, energy, extroversion, empathy, that can run these units, and we want to pay them more than anybody, and we want to support them, but we want to support them with guys that are running out of the office with better labor models.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I got to tell you, and I think to your point, I think franchising is a whole nother animal. I mean, that's a lot of people come to me and they're like, should I franchise or should I stay corporate? I'm like, look, it's a totally different business. So, and like you said, it's a great business model, but it's a very different business.
No, I appreciate, we're going to talk about Mr. Andy Hooper in a moment, but I appreciate, Kep, what you're talking about in terms of marrying a number of skill sets and areas of expertise. I cut my teeth in the industry. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kep.
No, we've done that everywhere where we always have an operator and a quantitative. We work in agile management. So we basically, at this company, we've traded our titles for teams and our jobs for projects. So you may be a specialist like in supply chain, but you're going to work with an operator and you probably have a quantitative on that team. And we're looking at a certain project. There's something we're addressing. We start with the thesis and we see if it works. We'll test it.
Brought all the that's all the Solomon Brothers knowledge, Jimmy. He brought all of that knowledge to restaurants.
No, look, as I was going to say, I cut my teeth on the front of the house, busboy, barback, waiter, and then bartender. But at a time when I was in the industry, I didn't see a career path for myself, and I felt that a lot of operators were going with gut instincts and very prideful of their culinary skills and their creative skills, but there was almost divorced from, let's say, a lot of quantitative, data-driven skill sets. And PDQ, you guys have embraced this since your founding. You've understood the criticality of the diversity in the leadership, and to a certain extent, chat, maybe we're just imitating Kep and Nick and Bob.
Of course we are, Jimmy.
You take a restaurant guy.
Why would you tell Kep that we were doing that?
Maybe we owe Kep a royalty or something. I don't even know. But anyway, listen.
At least a hat, Jimmy. Certainly a hat.
We got to give a hat. Listen, I mentioned Andy Hooper. I want to talk about, your future locations. And I hope one of your future locations is in New York City. Andy Hooper, we had a few weeks ago, and we love talking about mottos. I have an affinity for the phrase, it takes a village. It's very personal to me. It means something to me. But that's my kind of motto or ism, and that I believe, like raising a child, which takes a village, this is where the statement came from in my life. To start a company, to build a company, to foster success of a company, it takes a village. Finding out other people's isms has become one of my, new favorite things. I understand one of your isms, which is now becoming one of my favorites, with attribution to you, sir, is to meet the guests where they're at. To meet the guests where they're at. I love it. Can you please, for the audience, share a little bit more about how it relates to PDQ strategy and overall your guest engagement?
There's two applications to that ism, as you put it. That there's one is meeting the guests, the diversity of guests that we have in a restaurant. For instance, you have 4 17-year-olds. at one table. You have a retired couple at another table. You have a family, four with their soccer team there at another few tables. So how do we meet them and their needs, each one of their needs? And you do that a lot by with empathy and with noticing and trying to make sure that each one of the experiences where you're looking at one guest at a time, not guests, but we're addressing one guest and one guest experience every time. And that's what we're trying to do. So the other is meeting the guests where they are, applies. We use that a lot in terms of real estate. So look at New York City. I think we will do very, very well. And we're having some talks about New York City that we will do very well in Brickell. We can't have a drive-through in Brickell. Down in Miami, we do very well in South Florida. However, just because you work in a 500-person office building, that doesn't mean that you need to go get in a car, drive, go through a drive-through, or go into one of our units that may be a half hour away. We're going to meet you where you are. And that's just omni-channel distribution. We have a great product. We're going to go where you are. You don't have to come where we are.
I love it. I love it. And keeping on tech, let's keep on topic, talking tech. Over the last couple of years, you guys have been focusing on your new app. You're doing loyalty. Can you talk a little bit more about, and you guys have been leaning into data for a long time, longer than most operators. Operators, we are definitely slow to embrace technology. We probably have, we have a ton of data that most of us have no idea what to do with it, but we got a lot of it. It's cool to say data. And Jimmy says data, and I think I say data, but it's cool. So can you share more about you guys, your guest feedback, and how all this has helped you grow, and what's next on the horizon for you guys on the tech side of things? Like, have you guys embraced kiosks a lot? You talk about the whole, if you're in Brickell, are pickup pods something you're looking at?
Well, okay, pickup pods we have looked at, and we've tested. We may bring them back, but right now we're not using them. Kiosks are really interesting because the COO wanted to put a kiosk in one of our stores to test it. We've got it now in 2 stores we're testing. I kept saying, I've got a kiosk, and I kept showing him my cell phone. I'm carrying it with me at all times. I sleep next to my kiosk. So I said so he goes, he tests it up there, and then we met this morning. Yesterday morning, I got the first numbers, and I stopped him in the middle of the meeting, and I said, I think you're trying to say that I was really, really wrong. It is a material percentage in the first week of sales that are going through there.
Basket size is bigger, right?
More convenient. Basket size is bigger. It's more convenient for the guest, and it may be my age. I don't know. I wasn't getting it.
I think it's fun.
I've gone to
It's fun. It's fun. Pictures and pushing buttons, and it's fun.
It is. It's upselling opportunities, but it's not so much upselling where I appreciate, don't forget. Yeah. Like even when I'm checking out of Amazon, it's like I do forget the half and half. Okay, thank you. Yeah. But it's really working, and so that's something that we are embracing. We have a loyalty program that we've grown to over about a year and a half, 350-ish.
Yeah, can I ask you a question though? Going back to this, like when the COO was thinking about doing the kiosk, you were the president. Now tell me about the chain of command, because now you're the CEO. So is it now you can tell him I'm doing this, and when you were the president couldn't, or like how is that? And is it when you're you know what I mean? Because that's interesting. Who's the boss? Who's the boss now? Is it you or is this COO?
Well, I'm the CEO, but I was the president before that. And the point is that Nick and I have been partners. And so we are partners. We will forever be partners. And so it is, that's kind of how he and I would tag team things, that he may be working on this aspect of the business and I'll work on that aspect of the business. I built a lot of infrastructure, rebuilt our tech stack early on, worked with changing our distribution model. Things like that.
Sticking with data, let's just go right into this, okay? Zucchini fries. Is it true that you have brought back the zucchini fries because you heard so much guest feedback that they want these fries? And it was all about technology and guest feedback, and that's how you made that decision?
we had zucchini fries. We had a supply chain problem. We took it off. That they were the number one requested item far and away on social media through our loyalty program. And so what we've done is we brought them back, and they are a material percentage of our sales, and they've done very, very well.
They're delicious, by the way. And, there's a couple restaurants here in New York City, like Full Serve Fine Dine, that Jimmy and I love to go to. They do some fried zucchini, and you put a little lemon on it. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I'm going to say it seems like I'm getting my vegetables.
Okay, well, I tell you what, they're going back to like the brand ethos. That's double floured, buttermilked, so
Healthy,
flour, buttermilk, flour, and then fried.
Healthy.
But I'm saying that the work that we go to in a QSR restaurant, that's what's amazing to me.
Well, it sounds like,
that's why I
buttermilk, flour, fried zucchini, all healthy.
Right.
Sounds good to me. I love it.
Right.
And it's a number one seller.
Listen, what I enjoyed,
high seller, yes.
What I enjoyed about the banter exchange you guys just had, because Kep, I remember discussing kiosks with you back when we were together at a previous conference, and I know that the engagement with your guests, that your cashiers, the folks that were engaging with the guests, and the friendliness and their commitment to bringing joy was so important to you that I could understand why you were reluctant to automate it with a large kiosk as opposed to, as you said, the small ones we have in our pocket. But I actually love how at PDQ, you still tested it and you wanted to see the data and make decisions based on the results. And you've now made that decision. Bringing back zucchini fries was not a gut decision. It was a data-driven guest feedback. And I think that's what so many other companies are somewhat respectfully slower to embrace and adopt, is they want to stick with what they know and don't change things, but they're not actually going after the available data information that can help make them better decisions. So I really love what you guys have done. And that dovetails into, I think most of our listeners, while they might be familiar with PDQ, as customers, colleagues, and otherwise, you may not be aware that PDQ has a test kitchen down in Tampa. This test kitchen is open 5 days a week. And that is something else I feel is very unique. I imagine, this is probably the ultimate training and testing ground for real-time feedback for PDQ. So since I really believe that the super vast majority of our listeners don't know about your commitment to innovation, which is just magnified by your own test kitchen, can you share a little bit more about it, please?
Yeah, it's a real luxury where I've already been in one tasting for 2 types of mac and cheese at 9 a.m. this morning, and then also this Texas toast. We go through 100 things where maybe one might make it to the menu, but we can go and say, let's get it on the test kitchen menu. Okay, well, we got some feedback. We're very lucky that Nick Reeder and Bob Basham own the building we're in. So we have this. We could go downstairs. Everyone, we get feedback from all the other people that office in this building. And then if that's working, then we pick one unit or we pick one region like Jacksonville. And we'll try something. And we actually have the measurement thought out ahead of time. And we'll see how it works.
How much mac and cheese did you have this morning?
I'm trying not to have too many carbs, so.
Is it just like a spoonful? Like one little, did you have like one little elbow? Because you can't have one elbow.
One of them I had a spoonful, one of them I had 4 or 5.
Because that one was so much more delicious?
That was delicious.
It was.
Right.
So is that going to be a new menu item? Is that breaking news?
Well, it's already on the menu, but I will say that I'm trying to, I love the guys out at Nestle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love their place in Solon, Ohio. They've been very good to me. And we will see each other at the
That's where they have their whole test kind of facility?
Yeah, it's Solon, Ohio. Yeah. It's amazing.
I haven't been. Jimmy and I got to get over there. We'll see everybody down at Prosper.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're all going to be together at Prosper, and I'm looking forward to it.
Bring some cigars, Jimmy. Perry loves a cigar. And don't bring any of those cheap ones, Jimmy.
I forgot that. I'm so glad you reminded me, Captain Obvious. Yes, I will bring my cigars.
Well, wait a second. I'm coming from Tampa. I'm coming from Tampa. I'll bring some cigars.
Oh, what do you?
I'll bring some good cigars.
I think we've got an outing. We got something.
I got it. I got the
We got
cigars.
it. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm going to change gears a little bit. Shatsy and I clearly, you know it, our listeners know it. My wife and my young daughter who's running around the house knows it. We like to talk. But we learned along the way that we also found our guests sometimes like to ask us some questions. So let's kick off talking back. Kep, we're going to give you the microphone. As we like to say, nothing is off the table. Kep, the microphone is yours.
Okay. So I get to ask you guys a few questions.
Anything you
I think
like,
he said
sir.
a few. I think he said one, but I mean, Cap.
No, Kep.
Okay,
Listen, he's
okay.
the CEO.
I didn't hear a
few.
few, Jimmy. I heard a question.
I'll give him.
Okay.
If Kep wants a few, we'll
I've
give him
got a few. I've got four, actually.
go
that
for
I
it.
asked
Ask all
you.
four.
Go for it. Go for
Jimmy
it.
loves to talk.
How did you guys meet?
Shatsy?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, so we have, Jimmy and I have a mutual friend and partner in common, Dean Palin. Dean, who's, I think he's in the south of France right now at his nephew's wedding, but that's here nor there. Yeah, so Dean and Jimmy grew up in the city together, I think 8th grade, Jimmy, right? Junior high school?
I met Dino in 8th
And
grade.
I met Dino Boston University. So by Jimmy likes to say by what is it, Jimmy? By
I called it by the commute. So when I used to go visit BU and visit Dino, he introduced me to his buddy Shatsy. By the commutative property, I was friends with Dean. Dean was friends with Shats. So Shats and I became friends together as well. So we've known each other. I've known Dean for over 4 decades, and Shatsy really 3.5 decades.
Yeah.
So we've known each other.
And then and we've been partners, friends first, and now business partners for quite some time as well. Jimmy was always an investor on the restaurant side when he was a finance guy.
Yep.
Okay, let me go into your business relationship. What is the one thing that, let's say that you guys may push back against the other on the most when you're looking at a target company?
I'll take that one if it's okay, Shatsy.
Jimmy, go.
Okay, I think it's a great question, and I will say when Branded is operating efficiently and at our best, there's little to no friction in the area you just pointed out. What's unique about our platform, I think, is that the deal selection, the company selection, is done by Shatsy and the team of SMEs or subject matter experts, and that's a critical thing for our whole business. Is we started Branded Hospitality Ventures with the belief that this was an emerging or an alternative asset class that wasn't leveraging subject matter experts. And I, as a finance guy, and I've been in a lot of different markets, we've always leveraged the people that with boots on the ground. And I was watching Shatsy and his willingness and enthusiasm to work and beta test young emerging tech companies, because his opinion was, how could he know if a company could add value to him and his business without testing it? We had no investment thesis. We had no advisory thesis. It was, is it good for my restaurants? But then Shatsy rang me one time and said, they're now creating tech and trying to shove it down his and other operators' throats without actually engaging with the very operators who are going to use it. So I would say we're at our best when the expert team led by Shatsy does its initial diligence, and to get money out of Brand, it takes 2 yeses. A yes by the expert team, and then a yes by the investment team, which I run, and the finance team. If the expert team doesn't say yes, then it doesn't even come to the investment team for investment. So the friction you ask is when myself or others who feel we know a little something about the business as well try to influence and fall in love with a story or fall in love with an idea that the operators are telling us that they don't see the initial need for it. And so again, when we're at our best, which I say thankfully we're doing almost all the time, we don't have that friction. But there are moments where I've found that I particularly have loved a tech company and probably loved it more for the deal and the opportunity and the structure terms.
If the founder drinks Macallan and smokes cigars, Jimmy doesn't care. Jimmy doesn't care what they do. He's just like, you checked all the boxes I'm looking for. You like Macallan and cigars? Where do I wire the money? That's Jimmy.
But I think the friction, that is where I think it's a great question. I gave you a long answer and I apologize. But I think, look, I admit sometimes that is where we have friction and we have to remind each other, or Shats has to remind me, how do you say it, Shatsy? Stay in your lane.
Yeah, just because someone drinks Macallan, Jimmy, doesn't mean they run a good company.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
great question, though.
along the same lines, you invest in a lot of companies, and that like you try to get, your portfolio. You want the best returns you possibly can for your investors and for your operators. What is the common theme, the most common theme that you're seeing when a company underperforms? What did you miss during the due diligence, or what did you miss in the that in that operator that's running the company?
That's a great question.
Great question. You want to go,
Like
Chef,
in the
or you want me to take it?
forecast.
Yeah.
No, it's a great question, and I think that for us, looking at the companies, and to Jimmy's point, we really do bring them to we vet and test them in our restaurants if we can. If not, we'll bring them to other partner operators. But like Jimmy said, we really want to get the operator's opinion and how it functions. But I would think that the one thing that sometimes it's the ability for the founder to recognize, how important to listen and understand the operator and what they're suggesting and telling. I think that's really important for us, is to find founders. We love founders that come from the business, founders that have worked in restaurants, owned restaurants, operated restaurants. Like Jimmy's point, he was a bartender. If you come from hospitality and then you're saying that I had to create this solution because there was nothing out there. We love that. So I don't know the exact number. Jimmy, I'm sure you do. How many of the companies we've invested in are the founders are from the restaurant business? But I think that's a key for us.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think over half the companies are led by people that grew up in the industry, and the remainder of them, if they didn't grow up in it, they secured a resource, or they're very open to partnering with those very operators. I think on the fail point, or on the underperformed, or the errors were made, I'd say the following. I think the industry operators are among the most JIT people I've come across, and that's just in time. To successfully penetrate and be embraced by the industry and by operators, it needs the solution. The technology needs to address a critical, high priority need of the operator, because operators do not have time to address problems 7 and 76. They probably have the time to address problems 1 through 6. And I think when we focused on impactful solutions to real issues, challenges, and opportunities, we've had great success. Therefore, since that's our selection process, where we have found errors, I would say where we've made we've made mistakes, which actually I define as when you make the best decision you can with the information you have at the time that you make it. But founders and C-suites that are not flexible, because there is no straight line. The roadmap to success is not linear, and so we really rank team as the most important criteria for early stage investing, because we know the ability and the willingness to pivot and take constructive feedback from the operators is so critical. And if you look at what just transpired over the last 12 to maybe 18 months, we were in a market for growth at all costs to now profitability. And maybe that change by the investing community was unfair, but that doesn't matter. The investing community said, I no longer want growth at all costs. I want to see a roadmap to profitability. And we did have some founders that were reluctant to change the roadmap for fear of giving up growth, when our investors, and at the end of the day, it's not only about the investors, but you do need capital to provide the oxygen for these companies. If the investors en masse are saying, I want to see that roadmap, then you've got to freaking pivot and address that roadmap. And some companies were slow to do it, and that was really an issue of challenges. But fortunately, we have a portfolio, that is performing incredibly well because of the operator-centric nature of it. But I would say the inability to be flexible has been a red flag, and that's really hard to project and budget and analyze.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Kev. I think, I spoke to Jimmy about this earlier, knowing your question, so I kind of prepped him on the answer. So I'll take credit for most of that.
No, the flexibility is that's a great answer. I'm going to use it around here. I would say that where I've made mistakes is in the sales cycle. And I was on with the company the other day that was talking about that was pitching an AI product, and they were wanted to get into Darden. That's what's that, 2-3 years?
Yeah,
I was going to say,
18 to 24 months.
Yes, a 2-year project.
It's like,
absolutely.
but
Yeah,
they
I
thought
will
it was
say one
going to
thing,
be
to your
4
point.
months into it. So
To your point, one thing that capital cannot solve is
Sales.
the adoption of operators. That is really unique to the product market fit. I think we try to assist in that. I know you help in that for young companies, but that really comes down. That's where the rubber hits the road. Money can't solve
That's why if you
sales.
keep showing a product to a bunch of operators, they all say I don't care. It's probably because they don't care. It's just like Jimmy said, maybe it's number 76. Come to me with 1 through 5 to solve my problems.
well, and the easiest way to do it is start at the top of the P&L and then work your way down.
Yep.
I get a lot of great opportunities to save, let's say, utility costs. I'm not there.
Right. It's just not.
I mean,
it's
I
a
would
problem. It's
I
just
don't
not there
even
yet.
care.
Right.
I don't care. It's like I'm going to work on the things that can move $5, $10, $20 million at a time.
100%. Yeah. Like utilities is definitely sure. Of course, who wouldn't want to save money on the utilities? It's just a matter of do I want to put your time and effort into it right now? You know. All right. Listen, we got to go because Kep, you've got some stores to open, so we've got to move on to the greatest segment of all podcasts in the entire world. That's a
This is
fact.
the greatest segment?
It's one of them. It's one of them. It's the food service feud. We are playing the food service feud with Kep Sweeney from PDQ, the CEO, and Jimmy Frischling, the finance guy. Are you guys ready? All right. Well, we asked over 100,000 people on LinkedIn. Every Tuesday we do a poll, and we asked them we're very excited about FS Tech in Dallas. So we took a little page out of us going down to Dallas, and we asked our audience a question. I've got the top 4 answers on the board. Get your imaginary buzzer. Are you guys ready? Here we go. We asked the audience, which is their favorite Texas-based restaurant? Is it Dickey's Barbecue? Is it Chili's? Is it Hop Dottie Burger or Wingstop? Go.
You want me to answer?
Yeah, take a go. Go ahead. You can.
I'll let Kep go first. Go ahead, Kep.
I go to Dickey's. I'm a barbecue guy.
That is not the top answer. Jimmy, you can steal and take the thunder from Kep.
Now, I got to tell you, we have friends at all of these restaurants, so I felt like you're asking me to pick my favorite child.
No, it's not your favorite. It's what did the guests say? It's not you. It's the 100,000 people we asked.
It's one of the guests say. So I'm going to go with Wingstop among these 4.
I got to tell you, Jimbo and Kep are both wrong. The favorite Texas-based chain restaurant, according to our survey, was none other than Hop Dottie Burger. You go, Hop Dottie, followed by Chili's, then Wingstop, and Dickey's. They're all great.
Wow. So, okay, so Kep and I were at the bottom. I got to tell you, love
I was
Hop
last
Daddy.
place. Yeah.
I was second to last.
Yeah, last place.
All right.
Well, we love
I
Hop
like
Daddy.
it. By the way, all great Brit. We love Hop Daddy. Yep, no question. Listen, at the top of the show, remember we played our game, 2 truths and a lie. I'm going to quickly go over the 3 facts. I'm going to put Shatsy on the spot. Shatsy has an impeccable record. Kep had a great poker face, gave nothing. Fact 1, Kep wrote a screenplay with Julia Shepard called The Chef, the Banker, and the Mob. Fact 2, Kep's first company was a catering company at age 17. He's still partner with that partner. Kep talked a lot about Nick Rader. So he's a long-standing loyalty guy like you and I, Shatsy. And fact 3, Kep was offered an Apprentice Academy contract at age 17 with the Premier League in England. Shatsy?
Jimbo, go. I got this one. I think I got it nailed. Kep has an incredible poker face, by the way. If Kep Sweeney asks anybody to play poker, say no.
No.
Say no, okay? The guy is unbelievable. I'm going to tell you right now, he talked about writing. He said he wrote a book. We didn't know about that. We didn't get into it. But he said he wrote a book. So I'm going to say that, sure, he wrote a screenplay. I agree. I think the false one here is this whole Premier League thing. It's just, it sounds ridiculous. I don't know anything about this thing here, but no way. It's the Premier League thing. Kep wrote, and I think he is 17 catering. Yeah, okay, I go with that. The false answer is Kep was offered an Apprentice Academy contract at age 17.
By the way, Shatsy, I respect we're gonna bring Kep in. I gotta tell you, Kep is very athletic. So at 17, I gotta tell you, I would expect he was even more so, as we all were. But Kep, Shatsy made his bet. Tell us which are 2 truths and a lie.
Like always, Schatzi's correct.
Oh, I am so good at this
Yeah.
game. I got to thank Jimmy. Is there a way we get paid for doing this game? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, actually, no.
The prizes?
No,
Does
not.
Cap give us something?
No, he definitely no.
He doesn't?
No, he doesn't. But Chatsy, maybe we should call DraftKings or something like that.
Get some odds on this? Yeah.
Get some wagering going. Maybe we could get a vig on this. I don't know. Cap, very well played. You want to tell us a little bit about the screenplay or the first company?
And when is the movie coming out?
No, it's got to sell. It's I worked for 2 years with Jillian Shepherd. I met him at the Austin Film Festival, and we worked for 2 years on this. And yeah, it's a great experience. Jillian is the author of The Complete Unknown. It's on Amazon, and he teaches full-time at NYU Tisch School of Screenwriting.
That's awesome.
He's an unbelievable professor, and I'm so glad that he worked with me. I will tell you something very funny is I finished the first act. I gave it to him to review. He was very polite, and he read it, and he said, I have some comments, but I have one overarching comment that maybe you ought to start again. And that was it.
Cap, you know what? Have you ever thought about finance, Cap? Maybe finance is right for you. That's what hey, this is really cool, this whole writing thing, but how about Wall Street?
Yeah, exactly.
Cap,
it's actually, I'm very proud of it. I like it.
Cap, I once told a friend that I had a book in me, and I was sharing the topic, and my buddy who's a writer said, yeah, why don't you keep it there? Keep it in you. There. All right, Shatsy, well played.
Again, Jimbo. Yeah, we're going right to the quick fire, Jimmy. We're going right to the quick fire, and then we got to let Kip get out of here. Cap, all right, listen. We got the branded quick fire, okay? I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions, okay? Don't think too hard. Just whatever comes to your mind. Are you ready for the branded quick fire PDQ Cap Sweeney edition? Live from Kings County Distillery Studios in New York City. Favorite French fry shape? Go.
Waffle.
Where do you get
more surface area? But any fried potato works for me.
Zucchini fries?
Anything fried.
Where are you getting dinner from tonight, Kevin?
I'm going to get dinner from Roca. Nick and Bob own a Michelin star restaurant, so I'm going to be having dinner there.
What's your favorite food city in the world?
I haven't been to Paris in a while. I probably would say right now it's New York City, and second's Miami. Third is Austin.
Austin's coming on strong. Where's your favorite place?
Austin's
it is.
great.
What favorite place to travel?
Nantucket.
Okay. If you were to challenge Jimmy or I to a classic thumb war, what do you have better odds of beating?
I would say I'm pretty sure I'd lose to both of you, but I know where we will at the Prosper conference. We'll see over a cigar.
We'll do cigar. I know if we get Jimmy a couple Macallan's cigar, yeah, he's all thumbs. Jimmy's all thumbs.
Yeah. I think everyone will be really impressed with us.
I agree.
There you go. I thought, Chatsy, when I read that last question, I thought our producer was feeling sorry for me for the number of layups she gave to you, and I thought she was giving the layup to me because I got to tell you, your ability to either win or, more importantly, even stay focused on a thumb wrestle for more than a nanosecond is very limited. Very limited.
I agree, Jimmy. I agree with you on that.
All right, Cap. First of all, we can't wait to see you at Prosper in just a couple weeks. That's going to be awesome. Listen, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the podcast, for sharing your great insights, for all the work you and the team at PDQ are doing for this industry that we love very much, and we think you're one of the tech-forward companies and thinkers. And your test kitchen and the way you guys leverage.
I'm a little disappointed with Cap on his poo-poo in the kiosk, so I just have to throw that out there.
I was wrong.
I know. You could admit you were wrong, and I like that. That's big. That's big.
Hey, hold on.
The key.
I have a wonderful relationship with being wrong, so it's that's
when I talk about flexibility and we talk about agility. In the world of politics, if you change your mind, they call you a flip-flopper. How about the fact that you're afforded new information and you're allowed to recalibrate based on new information? That's the sign of maturity. That is the sign of a confident person, that you can say, thanks for the new information.
It's like a nav system. recalculate it.
Yeah, 100%.
Recalculate.
It's like we talk about our
completely
founders,
agree.
man. You got to be able to pivot, recognize maybe this was a mistake, and go a different way. I got you.
Yep, I think it's great. So listen, if you want to get in touch with Kep directly, please email the podcast team at podcast@brandedstrategic.com. We'd be happy to make the introduction. We had a little mishap in season 1. We're KG veterans now. We gave out a cell phone number. That was bad. That was a mistake. Okay, we learned. Email the podcast team. And to our listeners, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. We know there are literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there. And the fact that we're now north of 50,000 downloads every month, we just so appreciate
north,
you
Jimmy,
tuning
that's
in.
60,000 monthly listeners.
60,000. Well, that's above 50. All right, 60,000 monthly listeners. We appreciate you. So, again, to our friend Kep Sweeney, again, appreciate you being on the show. Wish you continued success, and we look forward to being on this journey with you one way or the other, but we love what you guys are doing. Shats, you want to close this out, sir?
Yeah, Jimmy, thank you. Thank you, Kep. I'm going to tell you two things I want to tell everybody first. First, on Saturday mornings, we've got a newsletter coming out called the Hospitality Headline. Go check it out. Go to www.hospitalityheadline.com. Sign up for it. It is a fantastic Saturday morning read. Comes about 6 a.m. every Saturday. Jimmy and our partner Julia do a phenomenal job curating original content, bringing out some interesting news, what's happening in the industry. I highly recommend hospitalityheadline.com. And the last thing, if you're looking for tech, if you're looking for a kiosk, go check out Boom Store, because I got to tell you, Boom Store has got over 500 of the top technology companies, most innovative companies in the hospitality industry, just waiting for you to check them out and do a demo and check it out, because they got it all, okay? Boom Store, check it out. Kep, thank you. This is Shatsy, restaurant guy, signing off the hospitality hangout. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you. Okay.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Bye.